right, so Vince Della Croce.
Yeah. Welcome, my friend.
Welcome.
I haven't seen you in a few weeks.
I know, and I'm in your backyard. This is your chapter, isn't it? I mean, this is your home chapter.
This is my home division. So,
division.
Florida is a little unique from IAEI perspective.
Hold on, stop. Florida?
Florida? I think I said Florida. What'd you say?
You said Florida.
That's what I said, Florida.
All right. Florida is a home division.
Well, Florida has IAEI chapter,
Right.
like most states have, but we're a little unique in the state of Florida because we also have, under the chapter, I think we're at 9 divisions.
Really?
Inside the state. So we're in Hutchinson Island, Florida, right now. This falls under my home division, which would be the Treasure Coast Division.
Treasure Coast Division of the Florida chapter.
The Florida chapter. So we have,
Okay.
if I work around the state, we have the, and I'll try not to miss any, we have the Panhandle Division,
Okay.
right? Obviously up in the Panhandle. We have a North Florida Division,
Okay.
the Jacksonville area.
Okay.
And we work down the coast. There's a Central Florida Division.
Okay.
There's a Gulf Coast Division. That's more like the Venice, Florida area, west coast of Florida. We've got Central Florida Division that handles the Tampa area.
Okay.
We have our division here on the Treasure Coast, which is the St. Lucie County, Martin County area. Just south of us, Palm Beach Division.
Palm Beach.
Just south of those folks is the Fort Lauderdale Division.
Oh, wow.
Broward County, and then even further south than that, we have a Miami-Dade Division. So if I didn't miss any,
that's a lot.
that's math, and you didn't tell me there was going to be math.
I know.
Math is hard, so
I didn't know I was going to have to use my fingers. So
yeah. So we're kind of have a unique structure here with all those divisions.
Yeah.
And what we do for our annual Florida chapter meeting is we have a rotation list amongst the divisions. So this Florida chapter meeting will move around the state every year, and each division gets to host.
Right.
So I think next year we're scheduled to be in, I believe, St. Augustine area.
Nice.
And the year after that, we're going to be, I believe, up in the Panhandle, in the Pensacola area.
Pensacola. Yeah. Well, that's absolutely awesome. So this year, or for this meeting here, we had the executive board meeting of the IAEI meeting here in the at this. I thought this is the chapter meeting.
This is our annual chapter.
This is so with the Florida chapter meeting, which is in this division.
Our Treasure Coast Division is hosting this year.
Absolutely. Yes. Okay, so we had the board of directors here, the executive board meeting, which I think was absolutely awesome. And during that meeting, your name was brought up as a rock star.
Oh boy.
Right? Yeah, it was. And Rudy Garza was very impressed, as I believe the entire executive board was very impressed with what you, and supposedly you and your team and the team here are very instrumental in making it happen. And what I wanted to do is take this moment take the time while we were together, which we get together every now and then, and it's a great opportunity. So what I'd love for you to do is explain what your team was able to organize and the importance of that for the IAEI. I would say that it's important for Florida, but based upon our discussion in the executive board meeting, it could be a model for other chapters and divisions to take on.
Yeah, so and it's not, I'm glad you said team, because it's not me. We have a big board of directors here in Florida because we have representation from all the divisions. So when we have a board of directors meeting, it's 30 to 40 people strong.
Wow.
Because we have representation from all our divisions. But we do have, like most chapters, we have an education committee at the chapter level. I'm privileged to chair that committee, but I also have some of our board members, and I hope I don't forget any of their names, who are on the education committee with me. I chair it, but Debbie Nutter, who's on the Palm Beach division, is on that committee. Vinnie Burdo, who's part of our with the Treasure Coast Division, who's also our Florida chapter secretary.
Ah.
is on that committee. Ken Castronovo, who is out of the Broward County Division.
Okay.
And also a fellow Panel 17 member in that. Kenny
okay.
just got appointed to Panel 17 just a few months ago.
Awesome.
And I'm on Panel 17 also, so it'll be nice to have Kenny participate on that. And Bud Kiefer, who is out of the Gulf Coast Division, is on the Education Committee also. And I think that's all the folks. And if I forgot somebody, I'm going to apologize. So
You can apologize in advance. Right?
yeah, I'll apologize in advance. But so the Education Committee, just within the last few months, to your point, Tom, has been successful in signing an MOU or Memorandum of Understanding with the Building Officials Association of Florida.
Building Officials Association of Florida. That's BOAF.
BOAF, so we call it here BOAF.
Okay.
And that's what those folks call it. And they're a, BOAF falls under, the ICC umbrella of building official groups. So they
Okay.
have affiliation with ICC, right? Like most chapters of ICC do.
So
throughout
that was one of my questions. It was going to be, now you said BOAF, so the last, that F is Florida.
Correct.
Is there a similar organization in other states?
Yeah, for example, we go straight north from here to Georgia.
Yeah.
There's BOAG, Building
BOAG.
Officials Association of Georgia, for
Okay.
example, and I know they have an affiliation
With the
to
ICC?
ICC.
And the IAEI just we're more closely aligned with the ICC, not like we were like an acquisition or anything like that. We have a partnership together, and this could be something that we could roll out based upon what you've learned and your team has learned on how to make something like this happen in other states.
I'm sure the opportunity is there, and I'm sure it's would be on a state by state
Sure.
basis with the folks of those particular building official groups in those states. We've had a relationship, the IAEI Florida chapter and BOAF, for quite a few years now. We
Okay.
interact with that organization as best we can. They're gracious enough to, we've had a seat on their board of directors for
yeah.
quite a few years, and we try to, fill that seat when they have meetings. I've gone to those meetings. We have other of our members of our board of directors who will participate. So we try to fill the slot when they meet and have participation and discussions with them. But I'm going to give a lot of credit also to Ann Russo, who is the executive director of BOAF here in Florida. She's been very gracious in our discussions as we've worked through this memorandum of understanding with them, which is going to enable the Florida chapter of IAEI to do some online training or webinars
Okay.
in conjunction with BOAF.
Right.
And we're going to be the SMEs or subject matter experts to provide NEC training and have it meet continuing education requirements for folks here in Florida, for both what we call specifically here in Florida ECLB, which would be an Electrical Contractors Licensing Board.
Okay.
That's the state board that governs licensing for contractors,
Okay.
electrical contractors and electrical specialty type contractors. We also have another board here in Florida, which we call BCAB, which is Building and Contractors and Inspectors Board, or something close to that. And that's the state board that governs the licensing of inspectors, plans examiners, building officials here in Florida. So we got two different boards. From a overall technical perspective, each have general/technical continuing education requirements,
Right.
which would be, for our purposes, the NEC stuff.
Right. Right.
Each of those boards also has some what they call required hours. For example, we covered some of these hours yesterday. Contractors here in Florida need some safety training.
Yeah.
They need some what's called laws and rules training.
Yeah.
And they also
Is it
need
ethics?
Workers' comp.
Workers' comp. Okay.
If we go to the BCAB side of the world for
Yeah.
the inspectors and plans examiners and building officials, the state requires those folks to have ethics
Right.
and I think accessibility training and a couple other specialties. So the Florida chapter for IAEI, with the BOAF MOU,
Right.
we're going to focus on the general technical and cover NEC-related topics through those webinars. The BOAF folks, more of the specialists for those specific required hours, we'll let them continue to do that, and they do it very well. They're the experts at that.
Right.
But they are gracious enough to recognize that we have the expertise from the electrical side of the world.
That's perfect.
So initially, what we're going to do, again, and a big thanks to Ann Russo for being very open to these discussions. We're gonna start with, since Florida is going to move to the 2020 NEC as of January 1st. We're going to do a series of webinars. I think we have the first one slated for July. There'll be 4 parts, parts 1 through 4, 2-hour courses.
Right.
And we'll use that total of 8 hours to cover 2020 changes. And we're going to repeat that. I believe the schedule is kind of like do it in July, do it in September, October, and November.
Right.
This way, as many folks as possible will be ready come July 1st.
That's
and
perfect.
then hopefully in the future after that, we'll expand maybe to some other topics, NEC topics. And come 2024, we'll expand with some other webinars. That's the hope anyway.
That's the whole. So the cool thing that you're doing is you're leveraging. You're basically taking, which I think what may be the model for other states, because I think you have a unique situation with regard to the licensing requirements. Some states may not have some of that, right? But you're basically saying, look, we are the IAEI is the electrical knowledge owner or the experts, the subject matter experts on electrical applications, electricity, and the National Electrical Code is your cornerstone, and you're partnering with other organizations that have to deliver education on electrical and saying, we want to be that provider. And they're welcome you with open arms, basically, because of relationships. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in the board meeting when we were talking about this, I can't remember who it was said, no, hold on, remember, this didn't happen overnight.
That was me.
Was that you? Okay.
Yeah, this is really fruition after many years of having a relationship with BOAF and their executive director, Ann, and supporting some events for them over the years, and them supporting events here. They have, I'm going to point down the hall because our vendors are set up or actually breaking down the hall. We're coming to the close of this our annual chapter meeting, but BOAF had a table here, and they had a presence, and we'll have a presence at their annual meeting, which is, I want to get my dates right, because like Tom, I'm on the road quite a bit, so the days kind of get muddled. About a month from now.
About a month, okay.
Maybe 6 weeks from now. I think it's the second week of June, but they'll have BOAF will have their annual meeting up in Orlando. We'll have a presence there. I think what we did this year was kind of agree to a booth vendor swap.
Perfect.
Where they can have a spot here, which they did, and we'll have a spot up there with a wash of money exchange, if we want to say in that, right? We're reciprocating. So each has a presence. But, they've been supporting some events that we've had over the years. We've supported some of their efforts over the years, and we've finally been able to, to really bring it to fruition now. I think great. What we're going to achieve both ways. And I think the beauty of it really is for folks in the IAEI world and different chapters and divisions across the country, other than our international office, which has staff, our chapters and divisions don't have any paid staff. We're all volunteers.
That's right,
BOAF here in Florida, building officials, they have staff, and they always have. So some of the processes and procedures that we need to pull off a webinar, registration,
they can help,
collecting, invoicing people, issuing continuing education certificates, sending out meeting invites, advertising. BOAF has had that process in place for many years, because they've been doing this for many years. And they're enabling us to just piggyback on that. And they're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting. on
Yeah.
that perspective. And but we're going to provide the content, and it'll be IAEI content.
Right.
And we're going to provide the instructors for that, and it'll be our IAEI subject matter experts, and provide the training. So
That's
I think
beautiful.
it's a win for both of us. They get exposure to IAEI. From our perspective, we get IAEI exposure out to maybe some building official folks who maybe didn't have exposure previously.
Sure.
Or maybe they're just garnering folks in their database who have taken their classes who the IAEI hasn't had exposure to either. And we get exposure to those folks and do some, brand recognition and get
Sure.
the IAEI logo and expertise of material.
Absolutely.
Out to
Brand
those folks.
awareness.
Yep.
Brand awareness, and you're building relationships with anybody. I think what I like about what you guys did is you're establishing IAEI as a leader in subject matter expert of the electrical codes. And it goes. I think a lot of our materials around electrical codes, but I think as well as I do, when you're presenting and you have a subject matter expert, whether it be yourself or a guy like Ryan Jackson or others, questions come up that go beyond the basic fundamentals of what does this section of the code say. There's a lot of design discussions. There's a lot of problem solving, right, that goes on in these meetings, and then you build those relationships that last outside of the four walls and in the meeting rooms.
Yeah, and I think, probably most chapters and most folks who participate in IAEI, I think a lot of us have the same backgrounds.
Yeah.
Whether that's an engineering background or we have AHJ experience. A lot of us are electricians who came up through the trade.
Yep.
And, all that I think it becomes very aware to folks who are receiving some training. When you can share the war stories and some of the background of why code changes happen. A lot of us are fortunate enough to have been in on discussions, whether we're attending a CMP meeting or first draft or a second draft meeting. And a lot of folks on the receiving end of training just don't have that exposure because they're busy running the contracting firm or involved with the municipality or doing their jobs, right? And a lot of us who are going to do this training through our board of directors, I'm trying to think of who's going to do it, but most of us, or at least 3 or 4 of our instructors, are CMP members at our board level. So we can bring some of that background discussion to the conversation.
And you always have the ability as a chapter or a division within the IAEI to leverage any one of the experts across the country.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you need a subject matter expert that happens to be in California or Oregon or weird in West Virginia, you can always say, hey, I want to give this person a call and see if they can't align and share their knowledge. So, and that's the power of IAEI, really, in my opinion.
It is. It's networking, right? And it's knowing that you have resources, folks, warm bodies that we can tap into when there's a question. And it's nice to have them in the phone and just be able to queue people up and give them a call.
I used to say Rolodex, and we can't say that anymore because when I say Rolodex, everybody goes, you're dating yourself.
Yeah.
So tell me, who is Vince Della Croce?
I don't know. That's a great question. So
Tell us a little bit about you.
all right. My background is probably like most folks who are watching, like I said, and most folks who remember. So I came up through the trade, and I know you make fun of the way I talk. So yeah, everybody says, hey, you're in Florida and you've been down here for quite a few years, but that doesn't quite sound like a Florida accent. I said, well, it's North Florida. And I say, well, it's really about 1,500 miles north of Florida. So yeah, I came up through the trade in New York City and, was a helper and an apprentice. I relocated down to Florida quite a few years ago and was a contractor down here for about 8 years. I spent about 11, almost 12 as an AHJ here in Florida. Transitioned to a testing lab briefly, doing some field evaluations.
That's right. What lab was that?
That was ETI Conformity Services.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
So did that for a little while and then was able to get the position I now have with Siemens as a business development manager. And I think I just hit 6 years with Siemens.
It's been 6 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been
for you.
very fortunate. Like I said, I'm able to participate on panel 17. I also sit on 99 for healthcare facilities.
Yeah.
think we both are involved in a couple, 1078 and 1078.
Oh, 78 and 1078.
Qualifications.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We may both be on the technical committee for existing dwelling inspections.
73. Yes.
And
Which is looking for a chair right now.
that's right. So I submitted your name and volunteered.
I was going to submit yours.
Sorry, beat you to it. I think from a technical committee and co-making panel perspective, that's it. A couple of UL standards technical panels, I'm involved with those. Also fortunate enough to, like I said, chair education here for the Florida
Right.
chapter, and I also chair the education committee for our southern section
Excellent.
of IAEI.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. The southern section. So where's the southern section this year?
Southern section meeting is in Waco, Texas this year. Be hard pressed to tell you the dates. We're usually the second week of October,
Yeah.
I think, but I don't know the exact dates.
Maybe, just maybe, you can look down, up, left, or right on this video and find the link. I believe I'll put the links for the all the section meetings. We have one website for one page that has the schedule, basically.
Right.
Have you opened up your registration yet?
No, that is very close. Normally, I haven't talked to Ken Masters, our
Oh yeah, Ken.
our section secretary, Southern section secretary. He usually gets through. Ken Masters, Southern section secretary, is out of Alabama.
Yes.
Alabama, I know, has their chapter meeting this first or second week of March.
Yeah.
Usually he needs time to recuperate from that.
Yeah.
And normally around this time, it's usually around May 1st, sometimes by the end of May, sometimes it's June 1st. Ken and his folks out of the Southern section will have the registration portal up.
That's good.
But as of now, not quite. I can share that I was meeting, since we're in Texas for the Southern section meeting, our Southern section president
Yeah.
is Jesse Locker out
Yeah.
of Texas. He's here on site
Yeah.
for our Florida chapter meeting. I sat with him yesterday.
Yep.
We firmed up education for this Southern section
Oh,
meeting.
perfect.
We've got the topics locked down. I have some instructors nailed down. We'll put the finishing touches on that over the next few weeks. So
Yeah.
when registration is posted, we'll be able to share all that information.
That's
also.
where we're at in the western section as well. I'm going to finalize it next week. Get all the different people. We have the topics. I got to make sure I have the right people in the right slots, and then we're going to publish our schedule too. So that'll be good. Hopefully we can get all the sections up and running so that we can start registering.
Yeah, so you probably agree. We're somewhat, I said it here today in front of our folks this morning. I think we're privileged as education chairs,
Yeah.
both certainly at the chapter and division level. I'll normally send out invitations to folks to support education at the Southern section level
Right.
here at the Florida chapter, and I very rarely get a decline.
Yeah.
I reach out to folks as well as you do,
You're
our
absolutely right.
IAEI partners
Yep.
and folks who support the organization, and we get tremendous support, and that's always appreciated. It makes it easy.
Yeah, it does, and so this year we identified the topics,
Right.
and now I'm looking for the right people, right, and in the process of looking for the right people, I've got like 3 or 4 people like we would like to do a program at the Western section, and then you don't want to say no, because so I'm trying to, I don't know about where your head's at with how you deal with this stuff, but I'm looking at like the day, and I'm trying to say, well, maybe we have an evening session, maybe we do something on Sunday afternoon before, to say, because you've got a lot of people who want to do things,
Right.
and then they're like, a couple people said, a couple individuals said, we'd like to do a program like maybe Sunday afternoon. I'm thinking about it, and they were like, no CEU credits. I'm like, well, heck no. If you're going to do a program, we'll throw CEU credits. I mean, that's what it's all about. And if you get a little bit more than the 18 credits or whatever it is that we're going to give you, then more power to us. But the challenge is fitting the time in.
Exactly.
But to your point, it's like you have all the individuals and everybody wants to help. And sometimes it's just a matter of making sure that you have for the topic for your section, because the states will be different, right?
Correct.
Southern state, you have Texas, you have Florida, and in some of these, Louisiana, in some of these states, petrochem is big, right? So, and
Correct. And we have different states, obviously, everyone's aware of this. Different states are on, some are on the 2020,
That's
some have
right.
moved to the 2023.
Yeah.
So what do you present? And normally, I think most of us would drift to, we'll go with the most currently published edition. And go with the latest and greatest, so everybody starts to get a flavor for what the most recent edition of the NEC is saying, even though your state may not be there for a couple of years, but you start to get your arms wrapped around what the document is saying. So we'll never meet exactly everyone's exact needs.
No, yeah, you're right.
Because there's just too many parts to the puzzle. Certainly for the Western section, you guys have the biggest section, I think, in the whole country. But it becomes difficult. But most attendees are very open. We usually get very good feedback on topics, and certainly we get great feedback on presenters.
Yeah. We have. I think the IAEI has some of the best talent in keeping your attention and delivering really good quality technical content. But even more important, all that. It's you've got their name, you've got their card, they've got their email, and if you run into topics, because the individuals that are on stage have more up here and in their experience than what they're talking on. So it's like you're getting some information, but right out here at the vendor tables is where the coffee pots, right?
Exactly.
You get around there, you start building the relationships, not just with presenters, but with all of the individuals who come to these meetings. You might be talking to somebody at a section meeting. You might be talking to somebody from a different state, right? And you may have a very small exposure to, say, hazardous locations.
Right.
But and you're talking to somebody in Texas who lives, eats, and drinks it on a daily basis. And it's an opportunity to say, hey, if I have your questions are things that they probably forgot about, years ago, and they go, oh yeah, it's simple to them. What might be simple to them is hard for you.
Correct.
So you build those relationships at the section meetings. I absolutely love that. It's helped me considerably in my career. From a Siemens perspective and from an Eaton perspective, when the smarter we are with regard to the code, we bring that back to our companies. Right? And that expertise is recognized by all of the different product lines, all of our sales engineers, all of our customers, because we share that information with everybody, and it just helps us all the way around. It helps improve the industry and helps the careers too.
Yeah, and I think, that's what, I think we all push in the same direction, and that's exactly what it is, and I think that's to share information. And certainly when we have a chapter meeting here in Florida, and you travel across the country as well as I do, and we cover a lot of IAEI territory, most attendees, my take on most attendees is just share accurate and correct information, and give us some of the background about why something is changing, and when you can offer the why behind, because I can remember as a contractor, when my mission as a contractor was get jobs, do the jobs, get paid, track down material, keep an eye on employees, worry about trucks, where's my delivery, and all these things. And the focus on codes and standards was not there the way it is now. And that's okay, for the folks out there, You go through your career and you have different focus on whatever your job scope or whatever you're trying to accomplish at that time. So at that point, I didn't have a lot of time to go read the first draft or a second draft, or at that time report on comments or report on proposals, and get the substantiation of being on discussions about changes inside, our beloved NEC. Now that's my mission, right? And that's a big part of your job. And we're able to spend the time doing that, but it also enables us to then take that information and share it with others to help them navigate through. And I'm sure you'll agree, when we have discussions, an open discussion at the IAEI meeting, as quote unquote presenters, I certainly shy away from saying, put my name and expert in the same sentence, right?
Exactly,
But
yeah,
when,
yeah.
when we get up there as presenters and there's questions and we have the dialogue back and forth, I'm learning just as much up
Yes.
there as the presenter having the discussion. We have the questions back and forth, maybe more
Yeah.
than the person sitting
Yeah.
who's, the quote unquote student, and even that's not the right term, attendee.
Yeah.
And that has never stopped. That will continue, I think, for all of us as we work through all of this.
Absolutely. It's a two-way street. And what I love about it is if you breach on a topic, right? And people have opinions, and they get up to the microphones. This person says A, this person says B, and then someone comes up and says, well, I don't agree with what he said over there. And you just watch the dynamics of the room and take notes, because it is just absolutely phenomenal. To your point, we all learn together and from each other.
That's right. And how many times have you heard? I mean, I've heard it plenty of times. We'll have these discussions, and folks will get up and say, that's not the way we do it here.
That's right.
Pick your state, pick your area. That's not, and we've never did it that way. And that's just different. And I mean, that light bulb has gone off in my head a million times.
Oh, absolutely.
To say, I never thought of whatever particular installation that is. Hey, I know how we do it here in Florida.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way, installing it that way, or having to do this because of soil conditions.
I was thinking soil when you said that. Yes.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
Somebody said, I don't know if it was in our meeting here over the last couple of days. I came straight from the Utah chapter meeting earlier this week. Maybe it was out there. And somebody mentioned seismic requirements and bracing and supporting equipment.
Yes.
Because of earthquakes. Well, guess what? I live in Florida. We don't have earthquakes here.
No, you don't.
But I tell you what, we got those other pesky things called hurricanes that roam through here.
That's right.
So from a seismic perspective, that never kind of is in my mind, because we don't deal with it here.
No.
But
And you
here in
don't.
California or out west, well, that's a different conversation.
Absolutely.
And, that you have to be broad enough to be able to kind of change the way you think.
Absolutely.
And be able to process that too,
Yeah.
bring it in, and try and stuff it inside between your ears, which is tough to do sometimes.
Yeah, and then a lot of people who will work on projects. You might have an electrical contractor or a design engineer in Georgia who's doing a project in California, who's doing a project in Florida, who's doing a project in New York City, and they have different requirements, different environments, the whole bit. I mean, you don't have basements here. Right?
Very,
you don't
very
have
rarely.
de-icing, snow melting, de-icing equipment on, there's so many things that are different, but you have marinas, you've got swimming pools.
Yes, we do.
Right?
Yes, we
Lots of those. And so that's the other thing is you might take somebody who's from Pennsylvania, building relationships through IAEI with a person here in Florida who does pools on a daily basis. And that inspector or that contractor might do a pool once in a moon.
Right.
And then, you have that ability to say, hey, I know Vincent Della Croce, or I know this guy or that guy from Florida, and they live, drink, and sleep and eat pools. And I'm going to give them a call and say, hey, this is what I'm running across. How do you handle this? The soil may be different and all that good stuff, but, these guys down here know pools better than probably anybody in the country. We
do have quite a few of them. We're probably within... I'm going to look around. We're probably within about 50 yards of one right now here at the hotel.
We are. In fact, that's where we were eating lunch or dinner last night, right by the pool.
We had the barbecue.
Man, you got it so tough down here in Florida. Jeez, oh man.
Well, we do try to, make this meeting, our yearly meeting, our annual meeting, we do try and make it a big event. We do. We spend... we're here for 2.5 days. Today is Friday.
Today's Friday, yeah.
So we go, we went all day yesterday.
Now, Ryan says he's doing a program tomorrow morning.
Yeah, we do a half a day tomorrow.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to step that back. We're going to do 2 hours tomorrow, basically from 8 to 10. Normally, we'll go from 8 to noon.
Okay.
But over the years, we've gotten some pushback from our members saying, hey, it's Saturday. We want to get out of here and go home. So we pared that back to 2 hours. So Ryan, I think, is doing, I think he's doing some grounding and bonding for us.
Yep. Grounding and bonding. Yeah.
And
separately derived systems.
Separately derived systems is what he's doing, right. And then we've got a couple of those required miscellaneous
Gotcha.
hours that we're going to clean up for some folks tomorrow.
How many total CEU credits do you give?
All in, we're probably around 14 hours or so, 12 to 14 hours total.
Nice.
I think all in.
Very good. Very good.
So,
how many is required for the state?
So back to the licensing thing, if you're an ECLB, electrical contractor licensed person, that's 11 hours over 2 years.
Oh, okay.
If you're a BCAB license holder, as an inspector, plans examiner, building official, it's 14 hours over 2 years.
Gotcha.
So we try to get as many of those hours presented normally
Right here.
every chapter meeting that we hold. We try to get most of them. We don't always get all of them.
Okay.
Some folks leave an hour or two short, depending on the year and what we're trying to to squeeze in, but we get folks very, very, very close. And then all our divisions across the state are normally doing either at their monthly meetings.
Yep.
Most of them are meeting monthly again. And most of them probably this year will do something like a Saturday analysis of changes.
Okay.
As we've got January 1st circled on our calendars where we're going to go to the 2020. So all our divisions are pretty good about doing some one-offs and two-offs, continuing education during the year to get their local folks, if they can't come to this meeting, trying to get them taken care of from a continuing education perspective, more local. You know, we know folks are still coming out of COVID and there's battles to get folks back into the room, and some folks still prefer to be remote, and that's still a problem for us here and for a lot of groups across the country.
We're handling that across the country, but it is great to get back in person together. So there's one other question I had for you. I got the CEU credits. How many people? How many attendees?
I believe all in, I heard numbers pushing 150.
150, that's great.
I don't have a final count on the vendors.
Okay.
I think we had about 25 or so vendors. We have a companions program we run too, so I think I heard 20-something companions.
What did the companions do?
There was some type of boat trip yesterday.
No, really? Okay.
So I know the companions met. They had a little meet and greet down in the hospitality room.
Okay.
And then they, I believe, Ubered over maybe 5 or 10 minutes away. They jumped on the boat yesterday afternoon.
Excellent.
Heard something about Chippendale dancers.
Oh boy, that's
There were
not
some
good.
videos floating around, so I don't know if those will make it onto. Don't put them on your website. But the companions seemed to have a good time yesterday afternoon.
That's great.
Today, there may have been a breakfast for them.
Okay.
And then they went to a local park. We got another beautiful day here. I don't think it's too humid outside. They went to a local park, and we had they have a wine glass painting.
Oh, that's cool.
Little event.
Yeah.
Where I know there was some mimosas, I believe. There was some Bloody Marys maybe this
Oh
morning.
boy, they might be a little tipsy coming to the.
We'll see what the wine glasses look like, what kind of shape the painting came out in. But I saw some of the companions roll back. I think they came in just after lunch, and they all seemed happy.
Yeah, that sounds
I
great.
think they had a good time, and we've got the banquet tonight.
And tonight's a banquet. Where's the banquet? Where's it going to be? In here? In the main room?
I think we're back in the main room. They'll probably reset it up after we break for continuing education, and we'll have the banquet. We'll do some awards. We'll install our officers. Jesse Locker, like I said, our Southern Section President, is here to do that. We've got international office presence.
The
I'm
IO.
not sure who's hanging for that.
Yeah, I think there's a few people that had to go home because it is Friday.
That's right.
Yeah,
And
and
we've got
so-
Mother's Day weekend that we're up against.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm going to say a big thank you, though, because I know this is kind of new for the International Board. It sounds like
Yes.
you guys are going to be, I say you folks, I won't say you guys, you folks.
Yeah,
the
'cause we-
International Board
yeah.
will be, it sounds like moving around to some different chapters for future meetings.
Yes,
And,
we are.
the board was nice enough to invite the Florida chapter board of directors into the tail end of your meeting yesterday. I know we had our board of directors meeting and education and stuff going on. So appreciate that invite. I was able to to jump into your meeting the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, that was the
and say
executive
hello.
board meeting, and so the executive board meeting meets in the about this time every year, and and then we have a board meeting, which is like at the end of the year. It has to be 30 days after the last section meeting, and no more than whatever many days based upon the bylaws. I can't remember the details, but so I believe we're going to meet at the Tennessee chapter meeting I'm not sure when Susan's having her meeting, but I think we're going to be meeting up there. So what we're trying to do, what Rudy is really doing, and I applaud him for what he did with this meeting. It was his idea to meet here, and his reasoning was, we're trying to be a lot more transparent in what we're doing, and if you get the board members we all have our own chapters and all that good stuff, right? But to talk with all of our membership and get engaged. Across the country, it's the right thing to do. And when he first said it, because we always met in Texas, and we always go down there and we had our thing, but it just worked out so much better. And to your point, we bringing you guys in and talking about it, and we would not have learned about what you're doing and what you guys have done here with BOAF. Go figure. We would not have learned about that. And I said, you know what, while I'm here, I want to make sure I share that with everybody because it's a great opportunity to say, look, here are the great things that IAEI is doing as the technical expert, subject matter experts in their area, in your chapter, in your state, and partnering with organizations to say, look, we want to be your resource for electrical education.
Yeah, and hopefully, other chapters, IAEI chapters are able to take advantage of that.
Yep.
Because, those, and it's all going to depend on relationships, right? This is a relationship-driven organization, and especially when you start crossing over to other organizations. How long, do you have a relationship? If not, maybe you want to reach out and build one, and relationships are not built in a day
overnight. Absolutely
or a week.
Right.
So, it could be a long-term investment.
Yes.
Certainly was here.
Right.
But, you start from zero and you work from there.
Absolutely.
If you don't take advantage of anything, if you started at zero, you're still at zero. You lost nothing. Right. So
absolutely. So the first step would be in each state to identify the organization, and like you say, it's a subset of the ICC. It's they have a relationship with the ICC, right?
Yeah, my understanding is yes. They are chapters of
the ICC,
I believe.
Okay.
Officially.
Yeah.
I think officially.
Yeah.
And maybe the international office
can help
with that because we do have a relationship between the international office and the. I don't want to say International Office of ICC. I don't know if that's the right term.
No, well, we got both CEOs are talking, so that's the first step, and then we're sharing resources and knowledge, and this could be an area to say, look, if I'm in Pennsylvania, what's my organization? If I'm in West Virginia, California, or wherever, and then like you say, if that relationship doesn't exist, extend the olive branch and say, hey, let's get together. What can we do together to help increase safety, knowledge of all of our working professionals?
Right. So the relationship has been established at the international level for both organizations.
Yes.
Right. That's the agreement that's been worked out throughout the last couple of years.
Yes.
Between IAEI and ICC. So why not make it happen more direct at the local level?
Absolutely.
If possible.
I love it. Beautiful. Well, thanks for taking out the time. I know you're a busy guy.
My pleasure. I appreciate the invite. Yeah, it's great to talk to you and talk to everybody out there. I know you have a big following. I heard that you reached
IAEI News Live.
The 1,200 like or
wow. So on the no, it's subscribers. So what we need is subscribers on the YouTube channel. And so quite frankly, what we do is we stream to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And a lot of times we get a lot of people on Facebook, we get a lot of people on LinkedIn, and a lot of those individuals might not be going to the YouTube site. So what I know what I'm struggling with, I want them to go to the YouTube site. So what I believe, I'm toying with the strategy of just posting the link on those other two venues, stream to YouTube, get them over to YouTube because there's so much more on the YouTube site, and we want to do so much more with that site. So we put snippets of educational materials for like some of the educational programs that we do. Like Chuck Mello did a whole series on grounding and bonding, you know, and there are snippets of that discussion and other programs that we have, full online programs, and we take little pieces of knowledge and we put them out there on YouTube, and then we say, look, if you want more of that, then you can go to the IAEI website, and we have educational materials. You can take a 4-hour program, an 8-hour program, and get CU credits, the whole bit. I think there's a lot of resources out there for people that they just don't realize. So trying to do a little bit more there, and hopefully that will take off. And what I'll probably do with this conversation is I will take a few snippets for my IAEI News Live on Tuesday. I'm going to take a few snippets of this conversation and basically introduce it, say, hey, look, you know, I sat down with Vince Della Croce, and here's what we talked about. And, you know, Vince said this, and I might come back in and say, hey, you know, here's, because you made some similar statements to Ryan Jackson made. Okay, and you guys didn't talk about this at all. And a lot of what you said, some of what you said, is exactly what he said. And what I'd love to do is take a little bit of both of those. And then what I'm going to do, just like I'm going to do with him, he and I sat here and chatted for quite some time. I'm not even sure how much time we had, but I'm going to take the full discussion and put that on YouTube separately. So I'll do the IAEI News Live. I'll load both interviews up, and if I can grab anybody else before we leave, maybe Rudy or so, and I'll put each of those in its you know, minus the beginning of setup.
Which was only a couple of seconds.
But yeah, well, but still, and all the sniffling I'm doing, but yeah, so I'll put the full discussion, because I think there's a lot of value there.
So make sure you leave this on.
I will.
All the credit I give to you, because you don't have to do this. You have a real job.
I know we both do.
We both have
That's
real
the thing.
jobs.
That is exactly right.
So I give you a lot of credit for doing it. I don't know how you have enough time in the day to do it, because you're eating work.
Yeah.
And you're doing a tremendous amount of IAEI work on top of that with all the YouTube stuff. So great job. I appreciate all your time and effort that you put into it.
Appreciate it.
And that's much appreciated. And I know there's everyone in the industry who realizes what you're doing and appreciates that also.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, Vincent.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you out there too. So
until next time.
Until next time. Cool. I hit stop recording.